Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mental Health Warriors. I'm your host for this evening from MH Warrior TV, Caroline, the Rainbow Warrior. And I'm so delighted that you've joined us on this show called Words as Medicine, where we're talking about the fine art of communication and the power of words to change our lives into a more conscious, happy and contented life. So we have an amazing guest who is sitting right beside me, Steve here. Say hi, Steve.
Hello, everybody.
We'll be
You've
back.
never seen me before. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. And we're going to find all out about Steve in 30 seconds. See you back here. Bye.
Yay.
Hi again. We're back. Woohoo.
How good is that video? Someone extremely talented created that video. That is absolutely awesome, and I love it.
Oh, thanks so much, Steve. And yeah, I'm delighted that you're happy with it and the new branding and stuff. And I hope it makes you feel good, gives you a bit of an uplift.
That music
Yeah, it kind of gets you going.
so cool.
I'd like to introduce everyone in Ireland, all the Irish audience, to Steve Knapp, who is our Mindset Warrior on the Mental Health Warriors team. And I'm really excited for this chat that we have together. We've been really pumped up all day about it, haven't we, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
We've been chatting on the phone and everything, talking about it.
I've been pumped up while I'm sleeping.
You were talking to me at 1 o'clock this morning.
I know. I almost. I'm like, let's do this. Come on, can we fast forward time? I'm ready to go now. Let's do it.
So, Steve, I want to introduce all the Irish audience to you. And if you want to learn a little bit of Irish, I don't know if you know how to say dia gwit. Say hello in Irish.
What was that?
Dia gwit.
Dia?
Gwit.
Dia gwit.
Yes, it means that's how you say hello.
And my Irish friends, I love it. I love learning new stuff.
Yeah, and I'll say good. I'll say good day. Good day.
Good day. Good day, mate. We love you. Yeah.
Good day, mates, the Aussies.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it's so lovely, and I'm happy. To have this time with you. Really, delighted, and say good morning to all the Aussies and good evening to all the Irish people here.
I know it's funny that, isn't it? We're so far apart now. Like to have 8 o'clock at the night and 7 o'clock in the morning. It's half a day away almost. It's absolutely crazy.
Exactly, but it actually works quite well because I would say I get your shows when I'm having my breakfast. I'm like, oh yeah, you got to finish your day, and I'm like, oh, I might have my cup of tea, and I'm like, oh, there the guys are on. It's like you're like my morning program, wake up program.
I love it. I can be a morning ritual for people. Just come on and get your daily little dose of feeling good about the world, and then embark on your day. It's just perfect.
Yeah, it's ideal. So, Steve, okay, I'd love to know. I know that I don't know that much about you. I know you from the conversations that I've heard you talk, on, interviewing other people. Now, tonight you're on the spotlight. And we get a chance to ask you some kind of questions. And, firstly, I'd love to say just thank you so much for being so welcoming to me since I've come to the Mental Health Warriors. You've been really supportive to me, and every time I've been online, you've been really using those words as medicine. You've been sending me so many lovely, upbeat kind of comments, and it's amazing how those words of encouragement really make a big difference, especially when you're doing something that you haven't done before. So I really appreciate that, and just wanted to say thank you to start off with that.
It's my pleasure. And it's I think so many people often forget that it's extremely easy to provide words of encouragement. Like it takes no effort. And if you see something you enjoy and you appreciate what someone's doing, please, people, just reach out and say, what you're doing is fantastic. I love what you do. I appreciate you. Like, it's so simple, and it should be simple, because when I see what you're doing, it is fantastic. So naturally, my instincts are to say, wow, brilliant, love it. Like, it's so cool what you're doing. Like, you're extremely talented. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks, Steve. And likewise, I'm always enjoy your show so much and everything. I just think you've got a great natural communication skills, and I think that it's important to say that, like, because people don't really realize that the power of those words of encouragement, that really build the foundation of connection, because that's where the connection is built. If people are sitting back and they don't kind of engage, then there's no that bridge that we're trying to build all the time doesn't get built. It's on those little moments that you kind of just connect, and it kind of builds a relationship. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's wonderful to have the chance to do that. I'd love to find out, Steve, a bit about your life. Like, what has brought you here we're sitting here tonight, different parts of different hemispheres, and it's obviously we're around the same age, and you've had a full life, and I don't know.
I don't look 105 to me. What does Adam call me? Am I the Oh no, actually Adam's very friendly. He said I'm the dad to the Warriors. Normally I'm the granddad to the Warriors.
Not at all.
I'm 44 and Adam thinks I'm
44.
Yeah, Adam thinks I'm a dinosaur.
I'm 47. I'm 47, so I'm older than you.
Yeah, but you look 15 years younger. See, it's beautiful.
Oh my God, charm will get you everywhere.
That's always my plan. I'm going to open every door with love and humility and gracefulness.
That's it. So, Steve, you're in Melbourne, I know, and I don't what got you involved in coaching and in mental health, and what fired your passion for that?
My own story, 100%. Like, it all came from, everything that I do comes from where I came from, I suppose. So I spent the majority of my adult life a massive raging alcoholic. Not even adult life, from probably about 15 years older. I started playing senior football in Australia. So as a young fella, I was in with the men, and it was really exciting to be part of that culture as a young fella and embraced in it all. But then you get caught up in stuff that you're not physically or mentally prepared for. And you make decisions that you're not mentally prepared for, and you think you're a big, tough man, but you're a baby. And those decisions can last a lifetime, unfortunately. Like, what I started doing at that early age didn't leave me. And I didn't think much of it. I thought, yeah, I like a drink. It's all good. But then when I was, how old I have been? Probably about 37, 38, I went, something's just not right. Not right at all. I don't know how to put it. I don't know if my brain didn't feel like it was operating properly, but things just seemed to be bothering me. And I'm not that sort of person. Like, I'm the most laid back, fun loving man on earth. But I was like, wow, things don't feel right. And then one night I just thought, I live on a main road. I thought, wow, those cars are traveling at almost 100 kilometers an hour. Let's just walk out in front of them.
Wow.
And bang. Yep. Like, you do feel a car that's doing about 100 kilometers an hour. I can promise people, don't try it. It's really no good. Luckily, I'm a very large man and I came out of it unscathed. But yeah, that was the second time I'd attempted to take my life. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is just totally ridiculous. And it made no sense to me. Like, I love life. Why am I thinking like this and doing this stuff? So I went, okay, I've got to get help. And yeah, I went and saw a psychologist, had about, it was supposed to be, I think, 6 sessions. I think we had 12. And he just opened my eyes up to a different world. And I'm like, cool. Now I'm seeing things. And I mean, I still make those silly mistakes every now and then. It's life, but I don't beat myself up anymore. Like I used to bury into the shame and guilt wormholes and rabbit holes and just go, this is like, you make a mistake and it lives with you for days. Whereas now it's water off a duck's back. It's like, that was pretty silly, but you're old enough and ugly enough to learn from that. The next day, you're not going to do that again. And through all of that, I went, I've learnt so much about me and like what life's about. And I don't think I'm the only person who's going through this sort of stuff. Like this is because I was quite, believe it or not, I was quite introverted and shy, like massively. Really great once I got to know people, but not normally someone to sort of start a conversation stuff. And came out of that and I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can help people that feel ordinary feel better. Like not necessarily through the same like alcohol, depression, whatever, just make everyone feel better. And that became my mission. And so I joined the coaching institute here in Melbourne, did all that, then found an amazing NLP coach trainer here in Australia called Tony Kay, phenomenal. So I got my practitioner certificate there, and everything else I do is life. Like I think my coaching is much more personal than models and all the programs. I'm just here to make every person I meet feel better. That's the dream anyway, and the plan and the goal. If I can, just through conversation, if I can just talk to someone and make them feel a little bit better than before we got on the phone, then I'm a happy man.
Yeah, excellent. That's amazing. That's a fantastic, transformation, and it's really kind of come from a place where you understand the wealth of that knowledge, like, and that experience of kind of when you do go down that road and like get addiction kind of, I would say like addiction is when it kind of takes you over rather than you have control. You don't have control anymore when you're addicted to something, It's kind of a scary thing, like I experienced that with my dad, and like he had a period where he went into alcoholism as well, and it's like that. It was just denial, complete denial for so long, and it's so hard to see somebody that you love so deeply kind of in that state that you can't even get through. You just can't get through into any kind of, you can't help them because they're not ready to help themselves, and it can't, and they had to get that to the point where they just can kind of see, wake up to that, and then acceptance, isn't it?
It is. I think a lot of the time people don't think they even realize that in that space. It's funny you mentioned your dad. My dad, very similar. He more of a gambling addiction. So yeah, I was in the middle of my final year of high school, getting ready for exams and everything, and I was living with my dad, and he lost our house to the bank, and I'm like, how is this possible? Dad works like 15 hours a day and makes heaps of money, and we're losing our house. And it didn't, I was old enough to understand, but not wise enough to understand exactly how all this works. I didn't really comprehend what was going on. And then I actually got in a fight at the auction for our house because the person who bought it had a massive whinge and goes, "Oh my God, $89,000. Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, this is my family home, you asshole. And I just went, whack.
Yeah.
He ended up buying, the house is now worth over $1 million.
Wow.
So this guy paid $89,000 and complained about it, and it's now well over $1 million. And I'm like, I said, this was built by my parents. I lived here my entire life, and I'm watching it go under the hammer for way undervalued, and you're complaining. And the worst thing is, the guy's name's Steve, and he's a roof tiler. I'm like, I'm Steve, I'm a roof tiler. Like, it was just like the ultimate insult to injury. I'm like, I was like, no, this is the most horrendous thing. And that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned from my dad is you can be addicted to things, you can dabble in things, but don't ever let them consume you, because if they do, you don't have control over your destiny.
That's it. Yeah, completely. You know, there's a really that's very real, like, isn't it? You know, and like you've experienced it, I've experienced it as well, because that happened to our family too. And you know, I was older, I was 18, and I went to college, and about a year later then my parents separated, and then I went away then to college, kind of a year. Yeah, I went away, I'd say to Germany, and I was trying to make money to finance myself through college in the summer times, you know. But then I think when I went back after finishing college for a year, and then when I came back home, then the house was gone. It was repossessed by the bank as well, and it was just that my parents couldn't come to kind of an agreement, you know. And like this sort of communication again is so important, because they couldn't come to a kind of a mutual agreement about what they were going to do with the property whenever. And things that, you know, Ireland at the time, back in the 90s, like there was massive tax issues, you know, and it was happening a lot, you know, with properties and stuff like that. So it just meant that the house just went, and all my possessions. So I arrived back in his own home, and all my possessions were just completely gone, you know. So that was a big, like, I learned non-attachment. Talk about trying to learn non-attachment of spirituality. I was like, oh yeah, I just only lost any attachment to like materials, things from then, because then it's just I learned, like, you know, when you actually go through, most people don't have the opportunity to actually go through something like that, to realize that actually those things that you are more than that. You're more than your house. You're more than your belongings. You're more than your family name. You're more than your actual parents and what their life is. You know, you're much more than that, you know. And I suppose I had the opportunity at a very young age to realize that within myself, you know, at 19. So, you know, it definitely was a sad story, a difficult story, but it gave me a kind of a different viewpoint, you know, on life. And it, you know, the importance of that, like the importance of communication, talking about things, and not letting things get to a point where, you know, you're going to have this massive effect on everybody around you, you know. And you know, the alcoholism, and you know, there's so many kind of societal aspects to both of our stories there, like, you know, that talking about just trauma and people not being able to cope with their own emotions, and it just shows up, and they're the symptoms of that type of mindset, really, isn't it?
100%. Without awareness, you just go around in circles and back and forth and loop. Like, your whole life looks like one of those scribble drawings where it's just like this, because you've got no comprehension of why or how. Or, funnily enough, a lot of people I speak to don't even want to know why or how or even change. They're just like, no, this is life. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but you're not good. Like, do you know where you could be if you just made two little tweaks in your life? Like, you think you're good. You could be phenomenal. You are phenomenal. Let it happen. Unleash your power. Like, be who you're born to be. Like, we're all born without limitations. We're amazing, phenomenal people. Like, we learn how to be rubbish, and we convince ourselves that we're rubbish. But we're superstars. Every single one of us is so powerful and amazing and awesome and individual and unique and special. We've got to harness that inner superpower and embrace it and shine it on the world, because we're all worthy and we are love and passion and light. Like, you're doing a disservice to the world if you don't let yourself shine the most brightest, beautiful version of you. You're taking away part of the world's light. It's not right.
Because you are the light of the world.
Everyone is.
That is it, you know? Yeah, you know, it's just, that's the truth. And like, it's just, sometimes you have to reach rock bottom to realize that, you know, unfortunately. But, you know, you don't have to. You can be guided by people who have gone that journey, and then, you know, it can tell you, you know, and save you that bother of having to do it the hard way.
Down.
You know? So like, I think like my dad showed me that, like, when I was I gained from watching his difficulties, you know, that kind of way. And I always think like he loved roses, and he always used to love roses in the garden. And Flourish by Design, I use a rose. I was only thinking of the other day, I used that as my symbol, and I was thinking, really what grew out of my dad's life was me. I was the rose that he grew in his garden, you know, after all of everything that had to, all the manure that was thrown on top of it, you know. It's just like, that's how it grows, you know. You have
the
to
beauty grows from manure.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just like, so it's just how you take those experiences, isn't it, and what you do.
It is. And how you sort of feel about them, I think. Like, it's amazing. It was only probably 2 or 3 months ago, I was talking to another amazing fellow warrior of ours, Melissa Christie, most absolutely gorgeous human on the planet. And we were unpacking a heap of stuff. And it all came around my dad. I'm like, wow, I don't feel like he loved me. He didn't. And like all this weird stuff that just, and I'm like, how is this coming out at 44 years old that I'd never put 2 and 2 together earlier? And as we just kept talking, she's like, wow. She goes, do you need to confront your dad? Do you need to say this? I'm like, I have no idea. Where's all this coming from? I don't even know. Like, your life just keeps changing. And then, so I kept having these feelings of, not being loved and worthy and appreciated. And I think that came from my dad working so much. Like, when my parents got divorced, I think I was 10 or 11, and silly, they let me choose who I wanted to live with. Dad bought me toys.
Okay.
What does an 11-year-old boy decide? Who gives me stuff wins, which was, I mean, you've probably seen my mum. I've interviewed her. She comments a lot on our shows. She's the most phenomenally amazing, powerful woman on the planet. And I chose to not live with her.
Okay.
And I think that's where a lot of my poor choices and decisions came from, because from an early age, I didn't have guidance.
Yeah.
I was running the show. Like, I was a hero with my mates. It's like, hey, we're 15. Come to my house. Let's drink. We'll party. We'll rock on. Let's leave school, because I live on the same road as the school. We can just go home. We'll be there in 2 minutes. It's like, And so, I got caught up in all this, like resentment. And then it's just all come back on me, because my dad's just gone into hospital 2 days ago. He's having just had half of his spleen and half his pancreas removed. And I'm like,
wow,
the end's getting very close now. Like, he's 75. It's all starting close. And so I'm like, I've got to make peace, not with him, but with my thoughts and my feelings around him and what's going on. And that just went totally full circle. I didn't even plan on saying any of that, but there you go. So you sort of, you can resent and not like things about the people in your family, but at the end of the day, you've still got to have that love and compassion and care, and know that you may not feel that, but they did love you. They just only showed you in the way they knew how. Like, they don't know. We all only operate in the experience we know. We don't have other tools. We can't, like, if your dad's Tony Robbins, that would be bloody awesome and epic to grow up in. But unless you're his kids, that's not your dad. So you just got to accept your parents for who they are and know they've got flaws. And I felt, once I got into the coaching space was when I felt at my lowest point as a parent. I went, wow, you've got 4 kids and look at how you've brought them up. You have taught them the worst way to be a human being in their formative years. Once I started going, oh no, 0 to 7 so important, 7 to 14 so, I'm like, they're all older than it now. I'm like, you idiot, where were you so many years ago? I'm like, then I made peace with it and went, well, you just got to deal with what you've got in front of you at the time. And yeah, they're older now. Like, I think my kids are 24, 19, 16 and 14. And I can just give them the best version of a dad now. And hopefully they'll take it on board as almost adults or young adults and use the experience of me now rather than what they remember growing up. Who knows? Like, they're all so different. Like, they've got my genetics, but they are all phenomenally different. Like, one of my middle ones, my youngest son, the 16, almost 17-year-old, he's so much like his dad. It's terrifying, but he's just, I can watch him physically throwing his life away before my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, he's got my sort of enjoyment of life and stuff, but he's also missing my common sense and knowing what's right in the world. He's if he doesn't end up in jail in the next 2 years, it'll be a massive win, because he's scaring the bejesus out of me, like absolutely scaring the hell out of me. Like, this guy's probably known by more police officers than anyone else in our state. And I'm like, don't stop doing it. And he's taking every drug known to man. He rings me. I can't even understand what he's saying. I'm like, it's breaking my heart, but I've come to terms with that. There's nothing I can do. I've tried to guide him. I've tried to lecture him. I've tried every approach. And he's a young man going through the phase of life where you work out who you are and what you're going to be and what you're going to do. And if it leads you down the worst possible path, it does. There's nothing else I can do. It kills me, because his older brother's totally opposite. He's just smashed out school. He got great end of school results. He's smashed out his first year of university studying accounting. And I'm like, you two with the exact same genetics are just chalk and cheese. There's not one, apart from brown hair. I think that's the only similarity between the two. There's just nothing, absolutely nothing else that they have in common. And I'm like, how does that work? Like, that mystifies me and intrigues me. That I'd like to. That's why I want to know about everything. You can't ever stop learning. You've got to know everything that's going on as much as you can.
Oh, that's amazing, to hear. But like, I feel like it's the most difficult job is to be a parent, I think, because like that, you do unconditionally love your children, and you want the best for them, and you want to protect them from life. But the actual truth of life is that we're here to evolve, to grow, to transform, and we're here on a journey of that self-discovery that you did, that I did, and we can't stop that for our kids, and sometimes it may look like at this stage that he's going down the wrong path, and but really, it might come to a point where he wakes up from that, and he might end up finding himself through that process, and your other son, who's doing everything by the book, could be the one that when he's 50 wakes up and realizes, I didn't do this, I didn't create this life, for my truth. I created because I was trying to please everybody. So
funny you say that. You are dead accurate. He's not trying to please everybody. He's trying to please one person, and we hardly see him because his girlfriend is the world. God bless her, and God bless him for being a man of so much heart. But yeah, they've been together for about 3 years, and he will solely do what makes her happy. So he's on one good path there. Like, he's going to have a long, healthy, loving relationship, but he's also going to be lonely outside of that because he's ignoring everything else external. So yeah, it's a fine line. And I suppose I look at it that way because my number one value is connection. I love talking to people. I love the experience and learning and understanding. So he hasn't got that side of me. He's happy to just be with one person forever and not ever upset her if he can. God bless him. But yeah, I think he will find that at an older age. He's going to go, wow, maybe I should have done a few little things different just to have people in my life. So yeah, we're all so unique. Like, there's not any two people that are the same, is there? It's just like we've all got these little quirks and traits that they're all worth embracing because you can learn so much. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and we all have the same lessons to learn in life. And they come up in different ways, so it's kind of like you can learn, I suppose your son who's getting involved with drugs and things like that, he's probably more in the exploration time of his life, which is
he refuses to learn. He doesn't like learning.
this is exactly the time for him to do that, in his teens, that kind of way. And as a parent, I suppose all you can do is guide and be true to yourself, and also kind of, they won't listen to what you have to say, but they'll watch you. They'll watch everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying, everything that you're emulating, everything that you're putting out. They will be watching every single thing. So the only thing that you can do is to be happy yourself, to find your own truth and to shine that. And then no matter what, then that's the example that you've set for them, And so like in 10 years time, they might wake up and realize, and then look back and say, oh, well, I've watched my dad, transform from, being alcoholic or whatever, then, learning that wasn't the route, that wasn't the path, getting back on and, learning that resilience, and like really kind of building that inner resilience, and then turning around and helping other people with that as well, and then that has been showcased to him, and like it's the relationships, like that sacred relationships, that I always talk about. Like it is in that transformation of, you talk about your father, your relationship with your father. It wasn't so great. He's coming to the end of his days, and you're having to kind of start to kind of uncover, the depths of your emotions for him, and let all those not so nice feelings come to the surface, the resentments and the bitterness and the things that kind of seem to go against the love that you have for him as well, and it's hard to integrate all that because you love him, but you also don't love his actions, maybe, or his choices.
Don't love all
that. And then you learn to forgive that, and then when you forgive, you're actually you're releasing yourself, but you're actually releasing your father from that as well, because I suppose when it comes to spirituality, like, we understand that life is connected, like we're all connected, like we're talking about connection, but in spirituality, like the timeline is connected. All of our ancestors to us is like a timeline. So our body, it holds all the energy of our ancestors up to this moment. So like when you actually release those kind of those feelings within yourself, you're actually releasing them for your father. Like, so it's kind of like, you know, you're healing him when you're healing yourself, you know. So it's kind of like that inner work, and it's really deep, you know, like, you know, I'd call myself a contemplative. So this is what I always do, and I've done from very young age, that you go into those feelings and you transform them, like you alchemize them. So it's usually like deepest, darkest pains that you have to bring to the surface, and then you have to transform them. You can only transform them through love. You know, that's the only way. So you know, it's the only thing.
Love
Yeah,
wins.
love is that love is truth. You know, there's nothing other than love. Everything else is an illusion. So
If your
any other,
words come from there
yeah, yeah,
instead of here,
yeah,
the power, force, honesty,
yeah,
massive. It blows everything else away. Like everyone whose words come from here, there's a reason, there's a story. They're choosing their words. When you speak from your heart, you don't choose what comes out. Like people say, every single guest almost that comes on my shows on the Warriors is like, "What's the prep, Steve? What do we do?" I'm like, "Nothing." They're like, no, like, you look like you know what you're doing. And I'm like, great, I am a magician. There's the illusion. I said, the only thing I know that I'm doing is you're going to say something. I'm going to be that into you, and I'm going to listen that deeply to what your answer is, that then a question comes out. And then then we do that back and forth for an hour. And like, have you ever been on the phone to someone and spoken for an hour? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's it. There's our show. Like, no, it can't be that easy. Like, I hear people that do podcasts and stuff, and they say they do this, that, and the other. I'm like, good on them. They make it hard for themselves. That's not life.
Yeah.
If we're us and I'm you, I mean, you're you, I'm me, and we talk from the heart, there's a show. And that's what people connect to, because it's not scripted. There's no like questions that have to be asked. It's just two people speaking from the heart, and that's what makes the world go round.
Yeah, but we're all the same. Like, we all have the same questions. We all have the same, you know, we all have the same, you know, the relationship we have with our parents, the relationship with our kids, the relationship we have with ourselves is where it's all at. Because like, there's nothing, like I was thinking even, you know, I'm always thinking, whenever things get difficult, or you have people talk about triggers, you know, what is a trigger? Trigger is something from the external world pulling up something that's within you. So like, if there's anger or resentment or everything, where does that live? That lives in your body, in you. It's
a trigger can only be internal. Like, no one can trigger you.
Yeah.
You can only trigger yourself.
Yeah. But there's something there that needs to be looked at, you know, like, why is it that you're insecure about something? Why is it that you're getting angry here? Why are you you know, like, ask those questions. And that's the only thing that you can do, you know. And like, I know my son is Scott, he's 14, and like that, you know, I'm learning so much from, like, I have a daughter who's 16, and you know, when she turned to 13, 14, like, she was really very like what I was like when I was 13, 14. I was really wild, you know.
My 14-year-old is like that as well. She can't be told a thing.
Yeah, and like, my dad used to say that, you know, oh, I can't tell you anything, like, you know it all. And I was like, I'm out of here, you know. And I'm, you know, I was just so like, I wanted to see the world, and I just wanted to, like, I lived in a little village, and that was great for one until I got a certain age. But then it was kind of like, I used to look up and see the airplanes and going, geez, I'm going to be on one of those as fast as I can. And I'm going to be gone. I used to tell my mom this and everything, you know, and she'd be like, you know, thanks very much, you know. But like, so like, when she was like that kind of wildness in her, and I knew like what she was like, and I kind of got to it. And then my husband was kind of like, oh my God, he had no daughters. He only had sons, brothers. And he just couldn't understand what was happening, where I could understand what was happening. She kind of like had a couple of years where everything was a bit ropey, you know, but she settled down now. She's 16 and she's really settled down now, you know, and it's kind of like, it was like that, like the butterfly, you know, in the cocoon, like she was kind of metamorphosizing into something different. She didn't know who she was. She wasn't really sure. She was bouncing back and forth and off everybody, like banging off walls and stuff.
Yeah.
And now, like, she's really kind of coming into herself, you know. But I think what really worked, what really was beneficial was that kind of crazy time. Like, you know, not that she was doing anything mad, but it was more just like not knowing her own identity, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I see with my son now, like he's 14 and I'm seeing different things with him where, because I can see the testosterone coming. And like, I'm like, Jesus, he's so strong. He's only
Becoming
14.
a man.
And like he punches thing, and he didn't punch me just messing, you know. And I thought, God, my God, like the punch, the strength in a guy. And then I'm trying to think, like, what must it be like to be a young man, like, you know, starting off.
Terrifying.
What must it be like to have that power, you know, like, like even in the Campfire Project, we were talking about men, and like, I'm like, what must it be like to be a man? You know what I mean? What must it like to have, like, it's a different set of rules as well, even like around men, like how do you kind of negotiate other men, and how do you contain that force, that strength, that, you know, and how do you like it's, you know, it's really it's not easy, I'd imagine, you know. And I can see that in my son, he has his strength and he's trying to get used to it, you know. It's like a new superpower. He doesn't really know what to do with it, you know. And you know, it's so easy for young teenage boys to go off track, you know. It's just so easy, you know. I see it in Dublin City here, you know, in the inner city, and it's just unbelievably difficult, you know, for them to keep on the straight and narrow.
And they feel that they have, I think as a young man, you feel that you have to show that strength. You've got to bring across the masculinity. And I think that is the most detrimental thing to manhood. When you're coming from that side of your soul, it's dark and it's angry and it doesn't open itself up to others. But I'm sure that's what your son's feeling now at that age, that you've got to be tough, you've got to be strong, you've got to hit the hardest, because that's how men show their superiority. Like, we've got to be the kings of the jungle. But the king of the jungle's the one with the biggest heart, that shows the most love and the compassion and kindness. It's not... I always, in those formative years, to me, that was a weakness. I'm like, oh my God, look at this loser. No, love. What it like. If I saw me now when I was 15, I would give myself that much abuse. It would not be funny.
Yeah.
But then if I could talk to myself at 15 now, I would teach myself life lessons that would have changed the path of my entire life. And no one now sees me as weak, even though I'm constantly heartfelt and speaking my truth and being vulnerable and honest and open and authentic. No one says, God, Steve, you're so soft, you're weak as. It's like, people are like, wow, that's strong. Like, you don't care. You'll share like the darkest parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Because like, I do it to help other people, but if you're being honest and open with yourself, sharing that, you are just helping yourself. You're unpeeling that layer of the onion every time you talk about the scars remove a little bit at a time when you tell your story and you let people inside. Like, I think the worst thing we can do as humans is put up barriers. And I think social media has been so horrendous. Like, people are just putting stuff out there that is, which good on them. Like, you just see the best of their best. It's like, wow, okay, look, they've just been, like, my daughter's getting caught up and she's like, oh, my friends go everywhere. We go nowhere. And I'm like, all of your friends go everywhere. I said, that's a pretty broad-based statement. I said, fair call. Yeah, we don't really go anywhere. I said, like, And I said, this comes from upbringing. I said, my parents didn't holiday a lot with me. I don't holiday a lot with you. Like, I think if your parents are campers and you're always away camping as a kid, then as a parent, you become a camper and your kids go camping. Like, that's just the way. And we're not poor by any stretch, but we're not wealthy. Like, there's not a lot at the end of the week. Like, when you have 4 kids, if you have money to go on a holiday at the end of that, kudos, you're doing well. I don't, and I don't apologize for it. I'd love to give experiences, but we all learn from the space we're in and the love around us. And I mean, I said, do all your friends that go on holidays, I said, do their dads take enough passion in their life? Do their dads coach their netball team? Are their dads on the committee of their netball club? I said, do their dads embrace all of your friends and tell them that they've got so much potential and I can see them all as brilliant, amazing young ladies and that I'm here for them if they need to ask anything, it'll be totally confidential and I've got your back. I said, do all your friends' dads do that? I said, what's more important? Do you want the dad that just throws cash and takes you on holidays? Do you want the dad that's invested with a massive heart that cares for the greater good of humanity around everyone that you associate with?
Yeah.
So I know what you're going to say now. You want the holidays. Come and talk to me when you're 25, 30 and see which dad was the better version. I said, it's up to you. I said, I win at the end. I promise. It's like a long-winded movie. And when it gets to the end, I'm the guy that kept getting beaten with rocks and stuff, but then crawls out at the end and ends up winning. I'm like, yeah, I make it. I make it through to the end. I promise.
Yeah. And Steve, like, that's so vitally important, because what you're talking about there is what I see as people's inheritance. You know, I don't see inheritance as money. People talk about inheritance. To me, the gold is those things that you do, you know, the coaching, the constant kind of engagement with the kids, the kind of the support and the love and the guidance, and that is like a village mentality. That's like the village where I grew up in. Like, it was born, it was built on that, and was kept together generations and generations through like hundreds of years of oppression, like to keep that going through thick and thin, through different massive challenges, and like, you know, that gone through my family line for like 500 years, like, you know, and I'm here sitting here today talking to you because of their sacrifice and their inheritance, you know, is ability for me to be able to do that. And like, you stand on the shoulders of giants, you know, like we just take what we, that's why the forgiveness has to come in to the generations before us, because they've done their very best. Because if you look back and see what they came from and what their parents before them came from and what you back again, you know, like, there's so much trauma that's gone through the generations, and all you can do is your very best, you know, each time, and then forgive everything else, you know, because, you know, you're still growing yourself. You know, I've made so many mistakes in my life, and I've just, you know, you have to let that go yourself, because, you know, you just did your best. What you had at the time, your maturity and your life experience, and either the guidance of, or the lack of guidance around you, you know, like, none of us had the proper guidance that we maybe needed when we were in our early age, because a lot of the time, as you and I know, when you get to your 40s and 50s, middle age, you're only starting to work things out. And then you have to have teenagers. Yeah, and then like you happen to have teenagers. They're like, what the hell is going on with them? And then sometimes there's marriage breakups, and there's like career changes, and there's different things when you realize, like you did as well, about, you know, with you look back, and, you know, just even say to people as well that, like, when you're on that like path of kind of self-discovery and transformation, it is scary, because it's actually denial. Kind of when you're in denial, you're kind of in a bubble of ignorance, you know. When you start to realize, when you wake up into what you actually have been doing. Like, I remember that myself, and I actually went to my daughter, and I thought I was doing a great job, and then I realized, and when I started getting educated, I actually apologized to her, you know. I was like, I'm really sorry, like, for the way I've been, you know. And she actually, the most unusual thing happened, Steve, actually, was she had suffered from asthma up to that point, and she whatever way I spoke to her that day, she looked me straight in the eye and she said to me, I don't need my inhaler anymore. I'm finished. I was like as if I had been, whatever atmosphere I was creating was kind of constricting her. And like that breath, talking about mindfulness and attached to breath. And like Irish people have massive problems with their breathing, with their asthma and everything. And I really do think it has an effect on it. It's something to do with like, it's like having heaviness on the chest, on the heart area, you're actually, it's like we haven't been we haven't had the space we haven't had the safety to be able to feel our emotions. We haven't had, and it's just been kind of like, and she and me, kind of whatever I said to her, she just like, and she never used really an inhaler. I had problems with her asthma or breathing after that. Like, it was amazing. It was kind of like something happened there that I didn't really understand, but I understood, that kind of way. It was like, if I told people probably think that's nuts, like, but it just, something did happen in that exchange, within that kind of like realization, and like just that apology that I gave her, she just had a massive effect on her, and then from then on I said, no, like, I will not repeat pattern of my parents, my background. I won't. I just won't, no matter what. And I continued to this stage, and it's caused a lot of problems. But because I just will not back down on that. I choose love every time. Just choose the higher road. Choose love. Choose love.
I mean, you look at it, and I used to think, like, if I heard the word legacy, that was like some like superhero that had built like something no one's ever seen. But I'm like, no, every human on earth can leave a legacy. And that's my mission. That's my goal. That's my purpose. That's what drives me. I'm not just going to die in a hole in the ground as just Steve Knapp, whatever year it was. It's going to be Steve gave a shit about everybody, and tried to make every interaction important and special, and let everybody know that he cares about them, whether he's just met them or known them for 100 years.
Yes.
I'm building that legacy that can filter through my kids. And yeah, I don't have to be Henry Ford. I don't have to be Walt Disney. I'm going to create my own legacy, and it's going to be equally as important as what these guys have done. And I feel it in myself. I feel it building every day, and I feel it in my connections and the conversations, and it's coming, it's building, it's growing, it's got its own destiny. And it's just going to come to fruition no matter what. I'm not letting any of that go ever. Ever. If you, anyone who watches this, if you meet me, I am going to shower you with that much love, adoration, and presence like you've never been heard before. And that will go into my legacy. Every single person I speak to is going to know that they've been heard. And if that's all I can do for the rest of my life, just let people be heard. That's coaching. People think coaching is really, really hard and you have to learn heaps of stuff. Little sneak trick thing for everyone. If you can listen, totally listen, like not partially listen, totally listen, you're a coach. Shh, don't let that out. Don't let that out. You're a coach. That's all you have to do. That's really all you have to do.
Listen without your own perception getting in the way, your own experience, it's like I said, the veil, like I would say, like, it's like most people, the work that you're doing is always trying to get rid of the veils over the senses, over the eyes, the ears, and the mouth, like what, the conscious communication, like, so is that it's when you're veiled over your speech, you're talking from your patterned experiences and your background and stuff like that. If you're speaking from your heart, you're taking down that veil, you're speaking your truths. And if you're listening, you're not listening through your own perception of your experience, like you know, how can you listen clearly and, you know, with truths, you know, just listen to the person. You listen from behind, not listen and looking at them and seeing their appearance and being influenced by their appearance or their nationality or their voice or their sex or anything. You're listening to the actual essence of the person, and you're listening to what they're, not even the words, but like what they're feeling, you know, the sense of them, you know, kind of thing. It's really getting to their truth, you know, and that's the fine art of communication. That's how you feel, and how the other you're feeling them feeling you, you know, you're feeling they're feeling you feeling them.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. That's communication. That's true communication. That is conscious communication. And that's what we were trying to get to. That's the fine art, you know. And that's all the healing is done in that, you know, because like that's the sacredness of life, you know, because that's where, you know, the sacred is present in that presence of that communication together, you know. That's the magic of life, you know, and that's the transformation that can happen, and the potential is in relationship, you know.
So true.
You know.
And I think if you can, when you learn to be totally present and listen, you'll be in the top 5% of people on the planet, because 95% of people are listening to respond. And once someone's got to a certain point where they already have an answer, they don't listen to anything else. If they speak for another 5 minutes, they don't hear anything after the part where they're like, I know what to say back to that. And in their head, they're running the script of the answer. They're not caring what was, and they're probably missing the most beautiful, meaty part of it after that, because they've gone, right, now I know what it's my turn to talk. I know what to say. My turn. Shut up. I'm ready to talk. Like, the reason we have 2 of these and 1 of these is because you should listen twice as much as you speak. You should see twice as much. Everything should be, you have one mouth for a reason. Don't overuse it. Choose your words wisely. Make sure they come from a place of compassion and love, but listen so much more, because you'll learn about people so much more by listening than talking. Like, we all love to talk. We need that validation. We have to be heard. We need to feel worthy. But I think it's so much more powerful when you make sure your words have a clarity behind them and a reason for people to listen to you. Like, if you have people wanting to hear your words, it makes it easier. But if you choose to listen beyond whatever your story is, your life's peaceful. It's joyous. There's no worries about anything else. You're just like, yeah, I love what you just said then. It's beautiful. Like, it's a nice place to be when we take ourselves out of the equation and let everyone be the superstar of the movie. Like, every person you see is the lead role. We've got to remember that. Like, that person over there is the number 1 lead role, top superstar in their own movie. And we need to give people that understanding that they are. Like, you can't live your whole life as a movie being the little stagehand on the side. It's your life. And you have that power to make it what you want. And we have to treat people like that. Like, every man I meet is The Rock. It's like, you are the superstar. You are huge. You are awesome. You are massive. You have charisma. You're a powerhouse. Like, it's your life. Rock it. No matter what you choose to do, rock your world. Rock everyone else's world. It's so cool. Like, it's just easy. Just be you, because everyone who's themselves is awesome in my eyes. It's only when you try to hide things and mask things and be someone different, then I maybe don't have the same love and respect. But when you're just you, no matter where you're coming from and how hard things are, I love you. So just be real. Be real and honest, and I've got your back every single time.
That's amazing. I love all that, because that's so like what I think is even these stars, you know, the stars we have all around us here, I designed in the backdrop. I was like inspired to do that because I was like, I think everybody, after watching all the interviews of people coming on here and speaking their truth, I said they are redefining what rock star is. You know, that's what I was saying. Like Steve's come on, he's a rock star because, you know, it's just like you're kind of that strength of character to be able to be vulnerable, to come out and speak your truth and to shine bright in the darkness that you've been in, you know. And it's just to be able to, that is true, you know, rock stardom, I think, you know, absolutely, you know. And everyone is a star. And like, if we were to able to like give everybody back their dignity and their self-respect, you know, life would be just a different experience on this planet, you know, because it's just, that's what I would love to do, you know, just to raise everybody up to the level of what they deserve, you know, that human dignity, you know. Let's bring that back as being, you know, the name of the game, the goal, you know, just giving each person like their you know, the value that they have and their uniqueness. Like, you know, there's only one person, individual, even though we're in a vast universe. I always think the amazing thing to think about is like, there's only one of you. There's only one Steve Knapp in the whole of the massive cosmos. You know what I mean? Okay, like you might be like an ant, but there's only one of you. And there's never going to be again. You know what I mean? It's just, it's amazing. You know, so like, it's just, and I love what you say about I was thinking about today, I kept thinking of, I love the way you have the power hour of mindfulness, because I just love those two things to come together, because I know there's a huge upsurge in spirituality across the globe, and it's amazing, but there's a lot of people kind of get lost in that calmness and, you know, just tranquility and you know, to me, that training yourself to be mindful is actually calming your mind so that you can use your prefrontal cortex, which is the powerhouse of putting your heart and your mind in one, and what I call the lightsaber. So this is when you are actually, you're working from your heart, but you have your executive functioning in line with your heart, and then you are a powerhouse, because that's when you are in your vital force and there's no stopping you, and you turn around, and once your heart is in charge, you want to help everyone. So it's not I anymore, it's we, you know, and it's just like, let's get this done.
That is brilliant. I feel like that's what I am. I feel so aligned to that. I'm like, yeah, that's
good. That's what we're trying to do. You're trying to
that's
get
what
this.
It is.
You know, you think from here and you act from there, you know? Definitely.
Yes. Now I'm Luke Skywalker. Yes. I have my own
lightsaber.
Jedi. Yeah, we are the Jedi warriors now.
Yay.
We've got this.
That's it.
It's so good. That's brilliant.
Yeah, we're just over our time.
Sorry, everybody.
And we haven't, just loads of comments, and I'm so sorry that we've just been so taken up with the conversation, but we'll go back in afterwards and we'll reply to everyone. Won't stay. It's been absolutely amazing. I knew that we were going to have a brilliant conversation.
I've been so excited all week.
We'll have to do it again. Like, but it was really fantastic to spend the hour with you. And
anytime. Like, it's Saturday mornings are perfect for me. If you want me on every week you want, just let me know and I'll be available. I promise.
Yeah, and then also thanks so much for the encouragement around exercise. We're going to start going in December, aren't we? The 1st of December.
Oh, yes.
Get back into a bit of yoga and a bit of running and stuff. Yeah. I need that motivation.
So we got 3 more days, guys, and it's game on. We're all gonna get. Oh yes, Valerie's jumped on as well. She said good morning. She's part of this too. She's
brilliant.
She's bored. Like Adam said, he's on. Like, we're gonna get as many people as we can. Like, that's gonna get our hearts stronger if we're living a healthier, more balanced life. Oh, Valerie started yoga this morning.
Brilliant. Go girl. I'll start tomorrow now after hearing that. I get back on my
so much.
my 30-day challenge And are you going to start, Steve, get into yoga?
Why not?
Join us.
I've got to at least give it a go. Yeah, Jenny's in too.
Woo! Let's do it.
People underestimate how much better you're going to be like if you're depressed, go for a run. I promise you cannot come back depressed.
Yeah.
Because it takes that energy away. Like,
I'm trying to get back to the running and the yoga, because the yoga is brilliant for, like, you know, the stretching and you know, especially when you get to the middle age, and the running is brilliant because it's great for the you know, for your cardio and stuff like that. And it's just also I always eat much better when I'm running.
Oh, that's funny, that, isn't it? Like, you get better actively, and all of a sudden your nutrition's better. It's like, makes no sense, but it's great.
Okay, so that's the next thing up. Okay, we're going to do that. Definitely.
Sorry, guys, I'm dragging this into like a 4-hour show. It's my bad.
Thank you so much, Steve. I really enjoyed it, and like you said, it's just the start of our friendship. Definitely.
Yeah, you're coming on the Power Hour next.
Yeah, brilliant. I really look forward to it.
One in January to run amok. It's going to be awesome.
Brilliant. Oh, I absolutely loved it, and thanks so much, and thanks to everybody for listening, and everybody who in Ireland and Australia. And I just have to say, I absolutely have fallen in love with Australia and everyone in Australia. You're just like amazing. You're just like the sun in your souls, is all I'll say.
Beautiful. Australia loves you too.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, guys, I better let you go, and we'll see you again soon. I'll see you back here next Friday, and then we have Dorota tomorrow at 9 for Art is Medicine, and that's 9 a.m. UK time. So tune in to Dorota, because she always has a fabulous show. Okay, Steve, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody, and sending lots of love.
So much love. We love every single one of you, and can never appreciate more your comments and beautiful words. Love you so much. Thank you.
Bye. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.